It's a tough thing to count the number of those Americans who have passed away in service to their country, as targets of terrorist attacks, during natural disasters, or as victims of pandemics. But in this video, we are going to take a look at major events from history that have put a huge toll on American lives. The Korean War, 36,914. The Korean War, known as the Forgotten War, was a crucial conflict between nuclear powers. It resulted in the deaths of 36,914 US soldiers. This war was the United Nations' first test, as they sent troops to defend South Korea from communist North Korea, supported by China and the Soviet Union. Over 3 years, around 2 million American troops were deployed. But the war ended in a stalemate with no territorial changes along the 38th parallel. While atomic weapons were not used, huge bombing campaigns, including the use of napalm, led to the deaths of around 2 million North Korean civilians. The Vietnam War, 58,220. The Vietnam War started as a targeted military intervention, but turned into a lengthy and unpopular conflict against communist North Vietnam. As anti-war protests erupted in America, young men were sent to fight in the challenging terrain of Southeast Asia. Sadly, 58,220 servicemen lost their lives, with the most intense fighting happening from 1967 to 1969 during the Tet Offensive. Eventually, the United States withdrew from Vietnam, handing control to the Communists. World War I, 116,516. Europe slid into war in 1914, while the United States, led by President Woodrow Wilson, promised to stay neutral. However, when the German sinking of the Lusitania claimed 120 American lives in 1915, public opinion started to change. On April 6, 1917, the US declared war on Germany and sent countless young men drafted into service to combat the threats of European battlefields. They faced bullets, bayonets, tank artillery, poison gas, and diseases. The war claimed the lives of 116,516 Americans. Its devastating impact made it difficult for historians to confirm the exact death toll. Unfortunately, due to a 6-hour delay, almost 3,000 soldiers, including one American, died in the war's final minute. The 1918 flu pandemic, 675,000. The 1918 flu, known as the Spanish flu, caused an unimaginable number of deaths worldwide, with 50 to 100 million victims, including 675,000 Americans. Initially identified in a U.S. Army cook in Kansas, it started like a typical spring flu, but worsened when it spread among troops during World War I. The deadliest month was October 1918, claiming almost 200,000 American lives. Unlike the seasonal flu, this issue affected healthy adults. To control the spread, public places were closed, and face masks became mandatory in some areas. However, without a vaccine, the virus ran its course by mid-1919. The HIV/AIDS epidemic, 700,000. In 1981, doctors noticed unusual cases of pneumonia and cancers affecting gay men in New York and California. The condition, later called AIDS, also appeared in blood transfusion recipients and intravenous drug users. HIV, the virus causing AIDS, was identified, but treating its severe symptoms proved challenging. The AIDS epidemic reached its peak in 1995, claiming over 50,000 American lives annually. Safe sex campaigns and antiretroviral therapies led to a decline in HIV infections and AIDS deaths in the late 1990s. However, the United States still experiences around 10,000 to 15,000 AIDS-related deaths each year, with an estimated 700,000 Americans lost to the epidemic over 30 years. The US Civil War, 750,000. The real death toll of the Civil War remains unclear, but it is believed to be higher than previously thought. While the commonly accepted number was 618,222 deaths, recent studies suggest it may be closer to 750,000 fatalities. This increase is mainly associated with the undercounting of Confederate casualties. If the higher figure is accurate, it would represent 2.5% of the US population at that time. To put it into perspective, if a similar war were to happen today, it would claim over 7 million American lives. The impact of the Civil War in terms of death and suffering is unparalleled in US military history. The COVID-19 pandemic, 1 million. In early 2020, a highly infectious disease called COVID-19 appeared in Wuhan, China. It quickly spread to the United States, leading to broad shutdowns and stay-at-home orders. New York was hit hard initially, with a high number of cases and deaths. The virus continued to spread, causing a serious loss of life. Despite the development of vaccines, new variants and vaccine hesitancy contributed to ongoing cases and deaths. By April 2023, over 1.1 million COVID-19 deaths had been reported in the US. Well, that's it for today. If you enjoyed watching this video, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more content like this. See you in the next video. See you in the